Well, you don't know original Jogo Sele, Ezra the Fun Machine in the building, representative for Hot 7 TV. What's up? Look up and take my show. Ay, ay, ay. Look up and take my show. They make my head.
Here's your guide to installing Hot 7's digital antenna.
Please note that all TV sets manufactured today have a digital tuner. TV sets manufactured before the year 2005 may not have a built-in digital tuner, and you may not be able to receive our free-to-air digital transmission on Channel 7 to receive our free over-the-air digital HD TV service. Number 1. Plug your antenna into your TV set's RF input jack labeled antenna or cable in. Number 2. You will now have to scan for the digital channel. Please note that all digital TVs are different in terms of scanning procedures. The following is a general guide, but the steps or the terminology may be different for your device. Press the menu button on your TV remote. Go to Setup or Settings. Go to Installation or System or Channels. Go to Scan Channels, Program Channels, Auto Scan, Auto Program, or Auto Tuning. Press Select or Enter or OK to start the scan. When the device says scanning is complete, accept the channels found and close the menus. The opinions expressed on this TV program by the hosts, guests, and callers are solely their opinions and responsibility. They do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Hot 7 TV or its affiliates.
Can't take it any longer. Can't take it no more. The people feel so insecure. We gotta tell it like it is, tell it like it is. We don't love how them a live, love how them a live. We gotta make it our business. Our brothers and our sisters, they are being killed. We gotta tell it like it is, tell it like it is. We don't love how them a live, love how them a live. We gotta.
A special good evening to each and every one of you, those of you following us on television, those listening on radio, and those who are connected through live stream. Very warm welcome to you to Like It Is for tonight, Monday the 12th of May. And of course, we are coming off the culmination of jazz. The big jazz weekend just took place. I hope those of you who participated did enjoy yourselves and had a good time and that you came out of it safely. Tonight, as always and as usual, we will start with our SLP segment, then we will go into our second segment. And I have a special guest for you tonight who will be joining me a little later. And of course, let us not forget that you too will have your opportunity at some point in the program to call in, to have your say, and for you to get a chance to tell it like it is. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we will go straight into our opening segment, which is SLP, Secret Lies and Propaganda, the ways of the St. Lucia Labour Party, what passes as governance in St. Lucia. The bluff, the deceit is going to be exposed in this segment each and every time. So here goes as we open up our program tonight with SLP.
You hear lie? That is lie. Lie? You hear lie? Teacher Percy say if you tell a lie, you're going to hell as soon as you die. Why, sir?
Yes, I think it is a good time to remind you, viewers and listeners, of that famous quote from Albert Einstein, which goes as follows: "Whoever is careless with the truth in small matters cannot be trusted with important matters." And we know that the government of St. Lucia, from Prime Minister down to junior ministers, cannot be trusted because of their bluff, because of their deceit, because of all the blatant lies, and because of all the secrecy that exists in government. But tonight I want to focus on a government minister we have not spoken too much about on this program, but of course, just another one of them. Because you see, from time to time, there are politicians who try to play us for fools, who believe that they can pull wool over our eyes, and that they make the assumption that they are smarter than the rest, and disingenuously try to defend the indefensible. Sometimes when you listen very carefully to them, inadvertently, the actual St. Lucia Labour Party policy comes out that betrays all the deceit and the lies and the bluff that they try to perpetrate. And what they make you believe with all their slogans and sound bites sometimes is also betrayed by the things that they say. And you come to realize that really and truly, they are not in your interest, they are not in your favor. Now, the St. Lucia Labour Party would like to portray itself as a government with a social conscience who cares about poor people and so on. But let us examine that claim a little. Let us look at their track record, and let's look at their utterances. So tonight I will start with the minister who's directly responsible for social matters in this country, the Minister of Social Transformation, the Minister of Equity. That is the Honorable Joachim Henry. I will open up with a clip that was extracted from last week's pre-press briefing where he made his contribution and had this to say. Let's listen to clip number 1, please.
What we will not do, and the government also has maintained subsidies on basic foods, and it is universal. Universal. When you have basic food items, the ideal is to have it universal and not say that you're going to remove the subsidies and let me get to the individuals who really need to get the rice and flour cheap. In every targeting instrument or mechanism, you always have errors of inclusion and errors of omission.
Yeah.
The Prime Minister wants to ensure that any and everybody who needs flour and those basic food items can get it. That's why the subsidies are across the board. We cannot pay attention to those who could do without it and risk those who really need it miss it. And sometimes it is costing you much more money to target who needs rice and flour with concessions as against those without. You discover that it's a small percentage, and therefore the cost of creating a targeted tool is expensive. And just like one may ask, why put $250,000 in the school? Why not find out which child is it? When to go and find out which child, then you spend a targeting instrument that costing $500,000 and you still have errors in it. It's easier to go universal.
Yeah.
Mr. Chasney, Alan Chasney, the political leader, believes that we should remove subsidies on basic food items. Remove it. And go and find out who need flour at a cheap price. Find out who need rice at a cheap price and target them to give to them. That's what he believes. That will risk poor people getting food items because you will have errors where you miss targeting somebody, you target somebody wrong. There's some room for targeting, but there's sometimes you need to go universal in your approach. When the $250,000 is placed at the school, those who need it will get it. And if you happen not to be below the poverty line, but you have an incident or situation, it's also there for you. If your parents can afford, but you forgot your package at home and you have an accident at school, it's available for you. Universal approach to rights is the concept of social justice. It makes it available for who needs it so that there isn't a problem. The last...
Now, you just heard the Honorable Joachim Henry making some claims there. First of all, he's stating outrightly that cost of targeting is too costly and it is much easier and more efficient to go universal. And by that he means just give carte blanche across the board to all and sundry, rather than select and pick out those who actually are in need and those who are deserving. He also further went to say, and again, that is what they do. You know, amidst all the claims that they are making, they always slip in those blatant lies, outright lies, you know, to score political points. He made the statement that Alan Chasney believes that we should remove subsidies on food items. Okay? He believes we should target food items such as rice and flour. And I ask the question, what is wrong with that? And for you to say that he believes that we should remove subsidies on food items is a outright false claim. You never heard Alan Jasny say so. As a matter of fact, he in fact has been advocating for the subsidies that were reduced or removed by your government to have been kept, only that he is advocating that the subsidies be targeted. And I want to state for the record tonight that I 100% wholeheartedly support that view. Now let me just remind my viewers and listeners, in case you have forgotten, I am Joachim Henry's immediate predecessor as Minister of Social Transformation and Social Justice and Equity. And in fact, I was actually amazed by the comments made by Joachim in that interview, in that press briefing rather. Particularly when it comes from a member of a party that has always boasted and proclaimed to be the party of the Malawi, the protector of the poor and vulnerable. Now, we have long explained to you that that's just talk, that's just bluff, if you are to look at it for what it is worth. When they say they are party of the Malawi, it means that they are the party that wants to keep you as a Malawi. Because they believe in keeping you dependent, they believe in mendicancy, so that you can always rely on them, dependent on them, and come to them, so that they can use the handouts as a carrot to control you and to dictate your support as they please. And that is why I call them the party of bluff and deception, because they go contrary to everything that they advocate. And of course, you just saw, they just presented recently a budget, which I call the half-a-loaf budget, where they strip you of what you have so that you can become dependent on them. And they tend now to be like generous and kind and caring by giving you half of what you had in the first place and make it sound like they're doing you a favor. Well, to say, as he did, that universal subsidies on basic food items is the ideal displays a real misunderstanding or perhaps even ignorance on his part of the principles that his own ministry stands for, the Ministry of Social Transformation, as well as an insensitivity to the vulnerable and marginalized people that his ministry is supposed to represent. And why did I say so? I'm saying so because, first of all, let us start with the concept of equity. All right? We must never equate equity with equality. There is a difference. Okay? Equality in the context of subsidies means providing the same to all. Okay? Giving each equal shares. Equity, however, recognizes that we do not all exist under the same circumstances, and therefore the nature of any support must take this into account. And so it will be more proportionate according to needs as opposed to equal amounts to each. That is the concept of equity. Now, all of our experiences have demonstrated that it is the most in need, the most marginalized, the most vulnerable, the most discriminated against who require the support the most. The practice as articulated by the minister of giving equal benefits to those who are already well off, while leaving those in most need with insufficient support, is not only flawed, but uncaring. Take the subsidies for rice and flour as a practical example. If the price is subsidized for all, does that necessarily mean that a poor household will be able to buy all the rice and flour that it needs? Does that also mean that government ministers who earn a salary in excess of $10,000 a month have to be subsidized, and government has to pay a part of the cost of the rice and flour that they purchase, that they need? Do the millionaires of this country even deserve or are in need of that subsidy for them to be able to purchase what it is that they need when they can more than adequately fend for themselves? Well, if you want people to be equally healthy, you need to target support to those who are sick and or unable to access healthcare services. If you want children to have a proper education, you will need to provide more support to those having problems in learning and or in going to school. I want to state categorically that a UWP government is focused on ensuring that all our people have access to the services and rights that are essential, to all the services and rights that are essential to their overall development and well-being, by ensuring that the most vulnerable among us are not left behind. As a people and as a country, we are only as strong as our weakest link. Now, the minister also referenced 2 reasons why targeted subsidies were not his preferred actions. Firstly, he noted that targeted subsidies and the instruments used to include, he indicated that targeted subsidies and the instruments used include errors of inclusion and exclusion. That is, it caused some people who should be included to be left out, and it caused some people who should not be included to be included. Moreover, he concluded that targeted instruments and methods are costly to administer. Now, before I go any further, let me just say that is contradictory, because you're talking about people who should not be included to be included. Well, with universal subsidies, you are ensuring that many people who, if things are going right in a country, should be the majority, who should not be included, are included. So, as far as I'm concerned, you are going to be spending unnecessarily high amounts of money on people who do not deserve it and who do not need it. Okay? To my mind, that is a very lazy response that we got from the minister. And we should be addressing this matter. And over the years, there has been a lot of dialogue and support from the World Bank, in particular with respect to refining the proxy means test. That is, the indicators used to help identify those to be targeted. So the World Bank, an international organization, and I'm not one of those who go by their doctrine, by everything that they say, but as an international organization that provides assistance, especially social assistance, they provide support, okay, with respect to refining the proxy means test, which is a test that is used to determine who are the poor, who are the indigent, who are the people in need. Okay? I am aware that there have been various versions of this instrument, and I would expect that the process of refinement based on the practical realities on the ground would continue. We should always be refining this instrument so that it reflects the various social service provisions for households as well as different household members. For example, housing, education, health services, income support, etc. There had also been discussions on the establishment of a database, that is a social registry at the ministry, of potential beneficiaries, that is individuals and households. Perhaps rather than dismissing the challenges associated with targeting programs, the minister should provide the nation with an update on the status of these types of initiatives that he found in the ministry when he assumed the portfolio of social transformation, social justice, and equity. It was also very interesting to observe that the minister, of course, They cannot resist. Nowadays, that's their buzz thing, period poverty. Okay. It was also interesting when the minister spoke of the $250,000 allocated to the Ministry of Education for the provision of sanitary products within schools as a means of combating period poverty. He actually referenced it as a type of universal subsidy, as it was available to all young female students irrespective of their status. I actually believe that the minister has contradicted himself again. If the allocation is directed at students who are classified as period poor, then by that very definition, it is a targeted subsidy, not a universal one. It is rather unfortunate that the government has chosen to profile it in this manner, as it is a very personal and sensitive issue that ought to have been implemented within a more discreet, family-centered environment, as opposed to the more open and visible framework of a school setting. So let us be clear, ladies and gentlemen. Targeted subsidies are equitable. Okay? Targeted subsidies are equitable. Targeted subsidies are efficient, and targeted subsidies are effective. More efficient because your money is better spent, your money is spent where it ought to be spent, and there is significant savings given the fact that you would have eliminated a vast number of people who do not need or require the assistance that you're providing that assistance to. Most importantly, targeted subsidies provide the government with the opportunity for using surplus resources to address other outstanding issues. Imagine, if you will, the government decides to replace the universal subsidy on rice and flour and focus on a smaller segment of the population who actually need the assistance. The savings derived from that decision can then be utilized to provide other challenges that confront that very same vulnerable population, whether that is childcare, healthcare, education and training, and unemployment support. This is what a caring government would do. This is what a government for the Mali way, as you claim, would do. This is what a government with a holistic plan would do. And ladies and gentlemen, I can promise you that this is what a United Workers' Party government would do upon resuming office. And before I end, let me just give you another example about this nonsense about universal subsidies. The government of St. Lucia, especially the United Workers' Party government, not so much the St. Lucia Labour Party government, because at present, the St. Lucia Labour Party government under Philip J. Pierre is engaging in price gouging. They are digging out your eyes and bleeding you through your ears and nose with the price of gasoline. The UWP capped the price of gas. And even when it went high, they still kept in place that upper limit, even if it meant that government had to subsidize the cost of fuel. Now, when you do such a thing, in the case of fuel, it can be more greatly justified if it is universal. However, if you can manage to target it, it is far, far better and more effective. For instance, in neighboring Martinique, where they operate under European principles and an approach, when the prices go up, the fuel price at the pump goes up. When it goes down, the price at the pump goes down. And so you pay the market price. Do you know what Martinicans have done? I can tell you from personal experience. They load up their boats with containers, take a ride across to St. Lucia, fill up all the containers with fuel, and go back to Martinique, because they make a big savings out of doing so. Having burned the fuel that it cost them to come and go back, the saving is so significant that they're prepared to do it, and they do that. Now, in effect, what are you doing as a government? Subsidizing Martinicans. Is that your responsibility? Is that what you want to do? Whereas, if you are targeted, those who need it will get it, and the surplus, the savings that is realized, will accrue to the benefit of those same in-need people who have other needs more than likely. So it is sensible, okay? It is more practical, it is more efficient, and it's more beneficial most of all to the people of St. Lucia if a government practices what Alan Chasney is proposing and suggesting that his government will do. So, I know of late, when we put out ideas, you all go back and reflect and see the wisdom in what we say. I have no problem with you all making the necessary adjustment based on the advice that you'll be getting here that will redound to the benefit of the people. Because it doesn't really matter to us who implements an idea if it's a great idea, once it redounds to the benefit of the people of St. Lucia. So take that idea and implement it. And stop that foolishness about universal subsidies is a better approach than targeted subsidies. Does not make sense, okay? And does not stand to reason. So, ladies and gentlemen, it was all a bluff, all a gimmick to try to justify their latest foolishness where they come in with the craze as if it is some modern invention about period poverty and all of that. What you need to address is poverty, period. That's what I've always said to you. That's what you need to address. Because there's rampant poverty in this country as a result of your government's policies. The high price of fuel, the 2.5% that you have imposed on us, which is a compounded tax, the fact that you have allowed the subsidies to be reduced, consequently bringing up the price of bread. The price of bread has doubled in this country. And it is small wonder you all will do something like that, because that is actually an illustration of an SLP policy that is in effect. And you know what your policy is? Impoverish the people. Make them become needy. Make them become dependent. And then you give them handouts, dangle carrots before them, so that they can be beholden to you, so that you can control them. That is not the kind of country we want to build. Do not take my bluff that you found me with away from me. Then give me half of it and tell me that half a loaf is better than no bread, so you're giving me half a loaf. No, that is not prosperity, that is not progress. You found me with a loaf, facilitate my development, facilitate my improvement, facilitate my prosperity, so that tomorrow I can have 2 loaves rather than half a loaf. That half a loaf policy of the St. Lucia Labour Party is not good for St. Lucia, is not good for St. Lucians. All you're doing is putting us in reverse. We want to make progress. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that exposes the bluff of the St. Lucia Labour Party, and that tonight is our presentation for our SLP segment. I thank you very much.
You hear lie? That is lie. Lie? You hear lie? Teacher Pussy say if you tell a lie, you're going to hell as soon as you die. Why, sir?
The views of the host of this program is independent of Hot 7 TV, Kiss FM, and Hot FM Communications Limited.
Now you can take Hot FM, Kiss FM, and Hot 7 TV with you wherever you go. Whether you're in St. Lucia or exploring our 4 corners of the globe. Our record-breaking app has already been downloaded over 500,000 times on Google Play and the Apple App Store. To bring you the best in HD sound, we've relaunched a brand new app. Get it for free in the App Store by simply searching Caribbean Hot FM HD. Listen to us in real time, anywhere, any place, anytime. We've added so many cool new features, like our live in-studio option, where you can see your favorite announcers and DJs at work. So download the app today. It's free. Spread the news. St. Lucia is now in HD around the world on the Hot FM app. Don't miss out. Join the fun and stay connected.
Looking for the best way to advertise? Stop searching. Hot 7 TV gives you more reach, more impact, and more value. Get your business in front of the right audience and watch your sales soar. Don't miss out. Call 452-6040 today and take advantage of our exclusive advertising packages. Hot 7 TV, smart advertising for smart businesses.
Did you know that while you're busy with your day, important news is breaking all around you? From politics to weather updates, community stories, and breaking news. Hot 7 TV keeps you informed with news every hour on the hour. Don't wait to hear it secondhand. Stay ahead. Stay informed with Hot 7 TV St. Lucia. News notes on the hour. Stay updated wherever you are. Catch Hot 7 TV St. Lucia's news every hour on the air, on our mobile app, and on our website.
Ball. Deandra Dunn.
Chops on. The feet have gone nowhere, but the ball has found the woodwork.
Absolutely huge from the Briton. It's been coming for a long time. If she's broke that magical 7-meter line.
Goes for it. It's beaten the man, square leg. That will do it. 8 scores of 200 or more for Brian Lara.
Usain Bolt storming through, he takes it again, Blake gets the silver.
Play of the day for the Heat. Derek Jones.
Unforgettable moments in sports. Sports classics during the Hot 7 Nightly News.
Now you can take Hot FM, Kiss FM, and Hot 7 TV with you wherever you go. Whether you're in St. Lucia or exploring our 4 corners of the globe. Our record-breaking app has already been downloaded over 500,000 times on Google Play and the Apple App Store. To bring you the best in HD sound, we've relaunched a brand new app. Get it for free in the App Store by simply searching Caribbean Hot FM HD. Listen to us in real time, anywhere, any place, anytime. We've added so many cool new features, like our live in-studio option, where you can see your favorite announcers and DJs at work. So download the app today. It's free. Spread the news. St. Lucia is now in HD around the world on the Hot FM app. Don't miss out. Join the fun and stay connected.
Looking for the best way to advertise? Stop searching. Hot 7 TV gives you more reach, more impact, and more value. Get your business in front of the right audience and watch your sales soar. Don't miss out. Call 452-6040 today and take advantage of our exclusive advertising packages. Hot 7 TV, smart advertising for smart businesses.
Did you know that while you're busy with your day, important news is breaking all around you? From politics to weather updates, community stories, and breaking news. Hot 7 TV keeps you informed with news every hour on the hour. Don't wait to hear it secondhand. Stay ahead. Stay informed with Hot 7 TV St. Lucia. News notes on the hour. Stay updated wherever you are. Catch Hot 7 TV St. Lucia's news every hour on the air, on our mobile app, and on our website. Now you can take Hot FM, Kiss FM, and Hot 7 TV with you wherever you go. Whether you're in St. Lucia or exploring our 4 corners of the globe. Our record-breaking app has already been downloaded over 500,000 times on Google Play and the Apple App Store. To bring you the best in HD sound, we've relaunched a brand new app. Get it for free in the App Store by simply searching Caribbean Hot FM HD. Listen to us in real time, anywhere, any place, anytime. We've added so many cool new features, like our live in-studio option, where you can see your favorite announcers and DJs at work. So download the app today. It's free. Spread the news. St. Lucia is now in HD around the world on the Hot FM app. Don't miss out. Join the fun and stay connected. Did you know that while you're busy with your day, important news is breaking all around you? From politics to weather updates, community stories, and breaking news. Hot 7 TV keeps you informed with news every hour on the hour. Don't wait to hear it secondhand. Stay ahead. Stay informed with Hot 7 TV St. Lucia. News notes on the hour. Stay updated wherever you are. Catch Hot 7 TV St. Lucia's news every hour on the air, on our mobile app, and on our website.
Can't take it any longer. Can't take it no more. The people feel so insecure. We gotta tell it like it is, tell it like it is. We don't love how them a live, love how them a live. We gotta make it our business. Our brothers and our sisters, they are being killed. We gotta tell it like it is, tell it like it is. We don't love how them a live, love how them a live. We gotta make it.
Yes, special good evening to you again, and welcome back to Like It Is. Of course, I promised you tonight that I would have on the program, Like It Is, a special guest, and he's here already with me. I will introduce him shortly. That is the Deputy Political Leader of the United Workers' Party, Mr. Guy Joseph, better known as the Right Guy, who was the former parliamentary representative for Castries South East and will do battle again for the UWP in that constituency. Of course, he has been the former Minister of Economic Affairs in St. Lucia, and we will have some discussions on some matters that were related in one way or another to his portfolio and whether or not he was and is in the leadership of the United Workers' Party. So I will have him here to answer some questions, to debunk some claims, and to deal with some matters of pertinence to you, my viewers and listeners. But before I go to Mr. Guy Joseph, I want to start this segment with a very interesting clip that caught my attention. Could you please play clip number 2 for me?
And I don't have to tell you, never before in this country, never before have we seen so much thieving of government resources. Never! And I don't have to tell you, never before in this country, never before have we seen so much thieving of government resources. Never!
Spider Montoute endorse that statement, because this statement is being significantly pertinent and accurately applicable to what is happening with our government at present. So, I endorse that statement wholeheartedly. I do not know when he said it and under what circumstances he said it, but it applies accurately to the government of St. Lucia of today. And let me just play another clip number 3, so that you can get a better appreciation why that would be such an accurate statement.
He gave away Port Castries and the Soufrière waterfront to a foreign company, GPH, for 40 years. Over 1 billion EC dollars ripped from SLASPA, a St. Lucian institution owned and managed by us. Then he handed 4 billion EC of citizenship by investment money to Galaxy, a Chinese company, for a hotel and a few roads that won't cost more than 500 million EC. Where's the rest of the money? Next, 200 million EC to a company labeled an International Criminal Organization, BMAX, to build just 66 low-income houses. That's $3 million per house. Now, Philippe J. Pierre and Wayne Girard are creating a sovereign wealth fund where hundreds of millions of our dollars will be placed under the control of foreign businessmen handpicked by the minister. No transparency, no accountability, no St. Lucian oversight. While St. Lucians can't find jobs, while families can't make ends meet, Pierre gives away our money, our assets, and our future.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, and we know about the CIP situation that exists right now with the billions of our money that is unaccounted for. We know of the Minister of Sports, the representative for Grosile, with the millions that he has accumulated over the last 3.5 years. Ladies and gentlemen, we know too of the record of the Minister of Housing in the Prime Minister's office. We know how much is being spent on the halls of justice. We know how much money is being squandered. When contractors can tell you in the construction of our hospital, cost is of no consequence. Cost does not matter. It is just a spending spree that can go on because the largesse exists, and of course there's a bottomless money pit that they can just spend. At the end of the day, they will use some of that money to try to buy you out so that they can remain in office. They can protect the victory, not just the victory, protect their high office where they can continue to plunder this country and pilfer all the resources that is supposed to come to the people of St. Lucia. That, ladies and gentlemen, we must ensure that it does not happen. And I will not tell you not to eat and drink the money that, and to take the money that they will come offering you as we approach the next general election. But don't for a moment allow them to fool you. Because as soon as they get back into office, they will begin another 5 years of plundering, another 5 years of exploiting you, extorting money from you, like they do with the gas situation, like they do with the 2.5% that they have imposed on you, and all of the things that they have promised you, the goodies to try to influence your vote for election, they are going to take it right back by increasing taxes on you, the people of St. Lucia. So let us not be fooled. Because if they fool you once, I'd say it wasn't your fault. You fell for the false promises. But if you allow them to fool you twice, then you really are a fool. And I know we are not fools in St. Lucia. So, ladies and gentlemen, tonight you heard one of the claims that was made in the clip. They spoke about GPH. Now, don't think that CIP is off the radar, but there are so many scandals going on. There's so much corruption taking place that, you know, from time to time we have to hit on each one of them and highlight the ills that are taking place in all aspects. And so I want to look at the situation as it relates to GPH. Because during his appearance on the government program Meet the Opposition last Friday, Minister Healy spoke, and we were hoping that he would have come to shed some light on issues pertaining to CIP. But instead, he spent his time casting aspersions and making all kinds of allegations, especially about the GPH. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have brought in here one of the members of the leadership of the United Workers' Party to respond to some of those allegations and to debunk some of the claims that were being made by Dr. Ernest Healy. We know by now that Dr. Ernest Healy has always been shrouded in a cloud of doubt. He has always been shrouded in a cloud filled with accusations about corruption. We know too his propensity to be dishonest. And so it was no exception on Friday when he sat before an audience on a program Meet the Minister and told lie after lie, ducked and avoided question after question, and sought to cast aspersions to divert the attention of his wrongdoings onto others. So before I call on Mr. Guy Joseph to make any comments, I want to play a clip number 4, where the claim is being made that the UWP had a worse deal with GPH, and that claim was being made by Ernest Healy. Clip number 4, please.
Dr. Healy, just to be sure, I think you're saying that the same deal that your government has now gone into with GPH was started by the former administration.
Yes,
is that what you're saying?
We got a better deal. When I came in as minister, one of my first meetings was at SLASPA. They had a draft agreement. GPH had even signed the agreement already, as far as I can recall.
The whole 40-year thing?
Well, there's not 40 years, 30.
Yeah. Oh, okay, 30. Mm.
Yeah. But they had an agreement on the table, Andre. They had an agreement on the table.
And the same $1 going to Slasper?
I can find the agreement, hopefully bring it for you, and let you see what's on it. I mean, you can sit down and you can have a discussion as to whether it should be 150, although I believe it's graduated over a period of time. So after a certain number of years, it increases, whatnot. And let me tell you, I didn't mind, and listen to me carefully on this one, and that's my problem with United Workers' Party, because they don't put the country first. It's a desperation to get back into power. They believe they can burn it down, and then once they're in charge, they can rebuild it, which doesn't happen. Nowhere in history, no civilization has ever survived this. If you had come and say, guys, listen, this is what we had proposed. This is what you've now proposed. Let's analyze it and show ours was better than yours. They're not doing that. There's an inherent dishonesty in the United Workers' Party. Instead, what they're saying is, pretend I was never part of this before. But this is what you all supposedly has agreed to. And you know what? You've sold the port. You've given up security of the port. Slasper is making no money. Now, what they create in the people's mind is a question of self-doubt. It's an old colonialist tactic. Make black people, colonial people, believe they don't have the capacity to achieve anything progressive. So we sold the ports, we've done this, and make people start doubting their own country and their own capacity, rather than a discourse that says, maybe what they were asking is better than what y'all asked for, and maybe y'all should have not considered on that point, maybe y'all should have gone with this original agreement. Let's make it about differences in policy approach, and which one is better than the other. Our people will still believe we can achieve, but maybe that one would have taken us a better route than that one. But
yes, so ladies and gentlemen, you saw the walls around the question, the dance that he engaged in to avoid answering the question directly, because he knows that he was lying. Now, it never ceases to amaze me how the next thing was for him to employ the normal, usual tactics, of all the crooked SLP politicians. That's what they do. They engage that strategy. They draw the risk card. And so you heard him about the colonial thing, about the full black people. And where does that come into the discussion that we are having here? Where does race feature in the discussion about GPH? Why are you coming? You ask Kenson Kazimi about this little black boy and so on, race. You talk to the Prime Minister, he goes into the black boy thing. Richard Frederick, he goes about people's race and nationality. And you, Ernest Hille, doing exactly the same thing, bringing up the issue of race on a matter that has nothing to do with race. We are not discussing race here right now. We are discussing a matter that you are party to, that your government has engaged in, and have refused to divulge the details, to give us the detailed information as to what exactly you engaged in. And you come with all of that. But before I go to Guy, I just want to play a second clip number 5, again with Ernest Hille in that very same program with the minister, where we could hear him a little more extended period, and let's see all the lies and the concoctions and the allegations and assertions that he's making about others, rather than deal with the real issue. Clip number 5, please.
Again, let me just tell you one thing about this. When we got into office, there was a GPH deal on the table.
Right.
I mean, this is the shamelessness of the opposition. That's why I tell you, I don't bother with something. Some people tell me, don't say that, fight with them every day and beat them up and whatnot. And the time will come when we will fight. Trust me. When you see later on in the year, we start fighting, we will fight, but we need to deliver a few things to solutions first, and then we'll start fighting.
So you're saying the GPH started under the last administration?
Let me even tell you, the present Prime Minister signed 2 agreements, and I can make copies available to you to read on the show.
Definitely.
With Royal Caribbean in 2008, for port catcheries. It never started. When he was Prime Minister, between 2016 to 2021, he signed another agreement again. And I presented both of the documents in the House during the debate on, again, for the same thing. For the same thing. When he signed it, and he also signed for Viewfort. For Viewfort. But he told them not to upgrade Viewfort. Instead, join up with Teotihuacan and put a cruise port in by El Pirata with 23 islands, or how many islands he was going to build. So when we came in now, I can tell you what was on the table. A draft GPH agreement, and the cruise lines being told that they're going to be building something near El Pirata, and they told us, they said they cannot do that. It can't work there. The currents and everything, it just cannot work. And they did not want to go into any business with DSH. Right. So, but they had already designed the upgrades to Vieux-Fort. Under us, when we came, we told them to proceed to do it. They sent pilots overseas to do all the simulation, how Vieux-Fort will be developed, whatnot. The problem they then had was the financing of it. Because as a country, we could not finance it. Yeah. And they said they had so many debts, so the federal government, arising out of COVID, they were not yet in a position to finance it. We then had to call in GPH and say to GPH, look, this deal, we're not very happy with it. Let's renegotiate the deal. And then we renegotiated with GPH. And we expanded it to include Soufrière. Right. And we expanded it to include a boardwalk from the Sanssouci Bridge to the new Vendors Arcade. All right. And we discussed with them and a couple of other little additions for us. Right. So we actually said to GPH, we're not very happy with this agreement. They had it on the table. Right. And they tried it twice in 2008 and I think 2018. Right. And they actually have press releases where the same Prime Minister is saying that he's going to hand over the cruise services to Royal Caribbean for Port Castries. And I mean, I can give you the press releases on the government website.
Yeah. And you see the thing, the scare tactics there, I think even Andrea has been caught in this. They're making it seem that GPH is making so much money and SLASPA is not. And the Prime Minister has explained that 90% of the business that SLASPA does is cargo. Yeah. They retain that. Yeah. And the 10% or so, that GPH does that. So they want to be
so
that.
It is.
Yes.
The port services used to subsidize the cruise services.
Right.
So just imagine you're running a business where this set of activities is subsidizing this other one. But this other one is important to the country because it has spillover effects. All the tours and attraction, all the taxi drivers, all the vendors. Right. So you don't want to discontinue a loss-making element because so the
All right. I mean, I allowed this one to go on because you will remember, I'm sure you've forgotten, Andre asked a simple question. Are you saying that when you came in that the previous government, are you saying that the GPH agreement started with the previous government, something to that effect, he asked, and you heard all what you're dancing around there with and so on. Rather than answer the question, yes or no, are you saying that the previous government had? Now, I am going to ask someone who would have been close to the table when all of this was taking place by virtue of his portfolio, Minister of Economic Development, would have been instrumental and involved in all of this. So I've brought you here, Guy, to either confirm what Dr. Ernest Hiller is saying or debunk it. Now, I should say I already take myself out, I'm not that anymore. I don't accept those lies and just let it go free. UWB has a habit of doing so. You have to tell us tonight whether that is accurate information, whether that is so. Is what Ernest Hiller is saying a fact? Is what he's saying the truth? Was there an agreement with GPH signed by the United Workers' Party? I mean, I know that GPH had spoken to the United Workers' Party. They came with their proposal, but that is not what Ernest Hiller is saying. I'm handing over to you, Guy. Shed some light on what we all have just heard.
Thank you very much, Spider. Good night, listeners, viewers. You know, I'm listening, I've listened to this clip a couple of times. And it comes across that Ernest Hiller believes that because he has a PhD, everybody else in St. Lucia are fools. But it really appears to me that he's a fool beyond and a disgrace to the degree that he carries. Because to say that there was an agreement, now, for you to have an agreement, and I will basically highlight the misinformation, and there are so many lies in just this short clipping. I don't want to know the rest of the program, how many lies. So let me go with it in sequence, and let me begin by dispelling the notion that there was an agreement. For you to have an agreement, There must be consensus between both parties, and both parties must sign on the dotted line. So I challenge Ernest Hille, and I hope by the time you go to meet the opposition on Thursday, he should have sent the agreement to Andre, because he told Andre, I'm going to get the agreement and I'm going to send it to you. Now, I watched Ernest Hille. I didn't see he have any papers in front of him, because maybe he believes the nonsense he's spewing, that everybody will believe it. If you look through the camera, you would see, and that's just a small fraction of papers that I brought tonight to back up what I am going to be saying. Now, Ernest Hille said, oh, well, there's a difference in opinion, and maybe we could have a discussion. So, Ernest Hille, first off, I'm challenging you to an open discussion on GPH and what has transpired. You come with all your documents. You are in government, you have access to more documents than I have. I will come with what I have, and I will prove to St. Lucians that you have lied on almost everything you said in the 2 clippings that was played. So first of all, there was a proposal, not an agreement.
Thank you. So, and hold on, guy. Before you go any further, I want my viewers and listeners to understand the difference between a proposal and an agreement. So you said there was a proposal, not an agreement. What is the difference?
So a proposal is where one party sends something. So
What they want.
Yes.
What they would like.
I have a car and I decide I'm going to sell that car to you, Spider. And I say to you, I want $5,000 for that car.
Okay.
The only time we have an agreement is when you have agreed to pay me the $5,000.
That's correct.
Before that, it is a proposal. I am proposing a price. You may negotiate and you may say, hey man, I can pay you 5, I can pay you 4, 5, or I can pay you 4. If I don't agree, your proposal is rejected.
Right.
So
there's no agreement.
Unless I sign a change of ownership letter for you, we don't have an agreement. So an agreement must be arrived and both parties must agree. So if GPH sent a proposal to the government of St. Lucia and say, I want to take over Port Soufriere, Port Castries, Port Vieux-Fort, Rodney Bay Marina, GPH is free to send whatever proposal they want. The question is, has the government of St. Lucia agreed? And I want him to show an agreement, because an agreement is not a proposal. The proposal becomes an agreement when both parties agree. And I know in our negotiations with GPH, we did not go into an agreement with them. We said to them, what you are proposing is not acceptable. And so I am hoping that by Thursday morning, Andre will have it on his show to present to you that there was an agreement. Because I know there was no agreement.
He did say that he can provide a copy of the agreement to Andre. He did say so. So I'm hoping that he does. We're calling on him. As a matter of fact, I'm calling on him to do so. And Guy, you will have to forgive me, but I will present whatever agreement he brings to the people so let them see. So, because we all are saying different things, somebody is lying.
No, so there was no deal with GPH.
All right.
There were proposals sent. Proposals were rejected. If the proposal is not signed by the minister, then it's of no value.
Correct.
Now, let's go further to what he said.
Well, Guy, before you continue, let me just say to my viewers and listeners, you already believe Ernest Hille does not know the difference between a proposal and an agreement? You already believe that? Anyway, continue, Guy.
Because that's what I tell you. They believe because they have a PhD, other people are fools. So let's go. He said the present Prime Minister signed 2 agreements. You heard him.
Yes.
Who is the present Prime Minister?
That is Philip Japier.
Philip Japier is the present Prime Minister. Yet still, and you see, Ernest, I want to say something to you. You don't speak to fools alone in this country. There may be a few labor rights who allow you, not because they are foolish, you know. It's just because they are loyal to their party.
Blind loyalty.
Blind loyalty. So you said the present Prime Minister signed 2 agreements, one in 2008 and one in 2018. Who was Prime Minister in 2008? Stevenson King. So if an agreement was signed with Royal Caribbean, it would be Stevenson King that signed the agreement, not Alan Chasney. But you see, in your obsession with going after Alan Chasney, you forgot who was Prime Minister in 2008. You behaving as if Alan was always Prime Minister of St. Lucia. And maybe he should have always been Prime Minister of St. Lucia. So, you said there were 2 agreements, one in 2008, and they were signed by the present Prime Minister. You need to clarify that for St. Lucians, because that's another lie. The agreement with Royal Caribbean was not for the development of all of Castries. The agreement with Royal Caribbean was to develop the area next to La Place Carénage. That is where, under drawings, if you recall, Spider, the drawings were placed on the wall or the barrier for where the old fire station used to be. It was the Labour Party when they came into office. And that agreement was entered into with John Tersek, who was the CEO for Royal Caribbean. And I will tell you, because I was part of that negotiation, the only priority that Royal Caribbean was getting was that if there were boats to be anchored, they would be given first priority in the section that they were building. That was the only agreement. So there was no handover of Port Castries to Royal Caribbean, because all the cruise lines would continue to call into port. But the situation would be, if there were 3 vessels and only 2 could be accommodated, priority would be given to RCI, that is Royal Caribbean International Cruise Lines, because of the investment they would have made. And I challenge, he said he made both document of the House. It should not be difficult to get it out of Parliament and to send it through. Now, you know, what's the gentleman who's with him on the show?
Fenelon, Mr. Fenelon.
Mr. Fenelon? Man who is clueless about what he's talking about. I was minister responsible for SLASPA. SLASPA has never really operated in the red. SLASPA has had issues, but SLASPA has never been in a situation where it cannot pay its debt. Now, here's what they said. They said 90% of the revenue of SLASPA
is from port services.
Is from cargo.
Yeah, cargo, yeah.
And cruise lines is 10%. I want you to bring the documents to show what you are saying there. Don't just come and say it. Because when you say cargo, you see what they are not telling us, Spider, is that both HIA Airport, here's what we have. In the wisdom of Sir John, when he set up SLASPA, SLASPA became the entity to manage the airports and the seaports. We have 2 airports, VG Airport or George Charles Airport and Huranora Airport. You have the port in Castries, you have the port in Soufrière, you have the port in Marigot, you have the port in Rodney Bay, you have the port in Vieux-Fort. All of that is managed by the same entity, SLASPA. And I want St. Lucians to understand what is happening there by what the Labour Party is doing. You see, the same way we had SLBGA managing the banana industry, and then they fragmented it into small portions or different units. And then there was a collapse of the banana industry. I am seeing the same thing happening in our tourism sector and in our port. SLASPA is managing all of these entities. So you have one general manager, You have SLASPA has one office operating and everything, the HR, and they manage all of that. So you have the cost being spread across the different entities. They have now given GPH the cruise. They're in the process of handing over the airport at HIA. Soufre has been given to GPH. Have you realized the number of problems there at SLASPA now to get a container out of there? Is it a situation of a shortage of money? So what we see there is the information given by Hile, which is not reliable information. Now, there's more to what he said, you know. And I watch him. He jumped on the black people and the colonial. You believe black people can do it, and black people were managing the port for the past 40 years, and you took it away from them and you gave it to a white man? And you telling me, because, I mean, is Hillary really thinking when he's speaking? You want to jump? We, the United Workers' Party, have been saying, SLASPA has done a great job in managing our ports, whether it be for cruise, whether it be for cargo, whether it be our airports, whatever it is, SLASPA has done a great job. Today, Ernest Hille and the St. Lucia Labour Party, led by Philip J. Pierre, has handed over our ports to GPH for 40 years. The option to renew for 10 years can only be rejected by GPH, not by the government of St. Lucia, because you've already given them that option. It's for them to take it or leave it. So it is clear that it is you who don't believe that black people can do things, because now you want to take the airport, the same airport we were building, the same airport we are managing as a country, and you now want to say, let's hand it over to the IFC, and let the IFC, who sits at the IFC? It's not people my complexion for sure, because when I met with them, they were not my complexion. I don't know about that for now. So when you want to come and play games with the people of St. Lucia, Ernest, come with facts, because it is clear that you came and you were, and you know, unfortunately, you are telling Andre things that Andre could not respond to you, because after all, Andre is not the PR for anybody. Andre is running his show. So don't come with these colonial masters, because you are the one doing what you are doing there. So tonight, Spider, I came with documents to back up what I'm saying.
But before you go into the documents, it was also claimed that GPH paid off SLASPA's debt, and SLASPA had a debt of 40 million, and it was paid off, and so GPH in fact made SLASPA solvent. You know, that is the justification I'm just giving you, that they offered solutions. So can you comment on this?
I can come to this, but I can tell you because I have the numbers off the top of my head.
Okay.
Okay. SLASPA was owing $22 million US. Okay. GPH agreed to pay 18 out of the 22 million and make an investment of 45 million. The 45 million included the 18 million for SLASPA's debt and 27 million for development of the port in Castries. So if you add 18 and 27, you get 45. That is the 45 million that SLASPA or GPH is telling us about. But what Hille and Mr. Fenelon and maybe Andre would not get that involved, but Fenelon is there to do PR for the government. Because meet the minister. This is not a real show where you are going to get tough questions. Here's the reality. They talk about, did they ever tell us how much money SLASPA is getting, how much money the government is getting, and how much GPH is getting. Throughout the entire discourse, I heard about 90% and I heard about 10% and Pojab Fenilo. The man knew nothing about what he talking about there. But all he's saying is Philip J. Pierre, the Prime Minister, said 90% of SLASPA's money is from cargo services. So is the airport running at a loss? When I know HIA has been subsidizing VG Airport for years, that is why there was so much talk about them when they commissioned the study to close George Charles Airport and to have one airport operational. I mean, these people must understand that there are some of us who know what is going on in this country. Now, I need to give you some information, Spider, so that our listeners can understand what transpired. There was a cabinet committee set up. So if Hile is saying that they got a proposal from us and their proposal is a better proposal, Mr. Hile, I'm looking forward to challenging you on this discussion because you have given a lot of misleading information. Now, Cabinet Conclusion number 195 of 2021. Now let me give you the exact date. 8th November 2021. Who was in office?
That would have been the St. Lucia Labour Party.
So,
21, yeah.
here's what it says. Cabinet by conclusion number 195 of 8th November 2021 agreed to the formation of a committee comprising representatives from the following agencies to review the proposal for the commercial term agreement. Philip Dalsu, Chairman. Ministry of Infrastructure, Ministry of Finance, Economic Development, Mr. Janai Leo. Ministry of Tourism and Investment, Donalyn Vite.
And for infrastructure, you would have had Ivor Daniel.
Yes, for infrastructure, let me see, Ministry of Infrastructure, Port, Mr. Ivor Daniel. Office of the Prime Minister, Mr. Michael Willius, Senior Advisor to the Prime Minister. St. Lucia Air and Seaports Authority, Mr. Adrian Healy. Director of Seaports, Mr. Keith Thompson, Financial Controller. Invest St. Lucia, Mr. Roderick Cherry. St. Lucia Tourism Authority, Ms. Leon Charles St. Jules, Chief Executive. That is the committee that was set up. So when Ernest Healy will come and tell you UWP had an agreement, there was a signed contract on the Castries Grosile Highway. You stopped it. The government, there was a signed contract on Talvan and Shock. You all stopped it and had to go back to re-engage them. You telling me there was agreement when all there was a proposal that was not accepted? Now here's what it says. The committee met on 3 occasions, namely 12 January, 19th January, and 11th February 2022. You heard the date of the meeting, St. Lucia? 2022. At those meetings, the committee revised presentation from the St. Lucia Air and Seaports Authority on cruise development in St. Lucia. The SLASPA master plan for the Castries Seaport and a review of the financial analysis of the commercial terms of agreement proposed by GPH. The Department of Finance also provided a financial and economic analysis of the proposed commercial terms of agreement. Now, note what year I'm saying, 2022. And here's the recommendation of the committee. So you, Mr. Healy, that is what you should have answered, Andre. On 3.2, page 2 of the cabinet analysis, Office of the Prime Minister, Office of the Infrastructure, Port, Physical Development and Urban Renewal, note to cabinet. Don't ask me how I got it. I have my own sources.
Yeah.
So,
3.2 says, the committee recommended by way of an interim report the rejection of the GPH proposal which was presented to Cabinet for approval on the basis that it does not present the best economic and financial option for the country over the next 30 years. That is the committee that Cabinet set up.
I want to interrupt you here.
Yes.
So far, Guy, you are telling my listeners and viewers that GPH came with a proposal. The UWP government did not accept it.
Did not accept it.
They came back with the proposal because there was a new government.
A new government.
The new government set up a committee comprising of what I would consider professionals from different departments. That committee recommended to the cabinet, according to the document you have there,
yes,
that which is a note to the cabinet, they recommended to the cabinet that they should reject that offer, just like the UWP did.
Yes.
Because it was not in the best interest of the country.
It was not in the, hear what it says? GPH proposal which was presented to cabinet, it says should be rejected for, let me read it again, Spider. The committee recommended by way of an interim report the rejection of the GPH proposal which was presented to cabinet for approval on the basis that it does not represent the best economic and financial option for the country over the next 30 years. Moreover, that SLASPA has, subsequent to the receipt of the GPH proposal, developed a master plan for Castries Seaport, which it intends to use to guide the development of the seaport. Negotiations with prospective investors will therefore be based upon the master plan. So SLASPA under the UWP had already done a master plan. Here's what it says under 3.3. Since the submission of the initial proposals, the representatives of GPH met with the Minister of Tourism, Investment, Creative Industries, Culture and Information on March 29th and submitted a revised proposal on the 1st of April 2022. So they bypassed the committee that was established to give them the advice on what to do, and they went straight to the minister.
Okay, I mean, I'm sorry, but it didn't escape me the date that they presented the minister the proposal.
1st of April,
yeah.
All Fool's Day, is the day when the minister went into an agreement to give our seaports to GPH. Let me go on page 4 and say, it is to be noted that GPH has proposed a revenue sharing agreement for years 1 to 5 and 6 to 30. The rationale for separating the revenue sharing over these two periods has not been clearly explained in the revised proposal. SLASPA is required, hear what SLASPA must do? After GPH is getting all the money, SLASPA is required to maintain the cruise infrastructure over the life of the concession period. This includes dredging and other maintenance works that it will be required to undertake. It is strongly recommended that the revenue sharing agreement provides SLASPA with sufficient revenue to cover these expenses. So if cruise did not have a profit, if cruise was operating at a loss, why would the proposal, the controller of SLASPA, all the people in finance, they know how much money SLASPA remits to the government on a yearly basis. Why they are asking that the revenue sharing arrangement should be sufficient to cover the expenses for SLASPA to do these things. And you know whose signature is behind that? Stevenson King, Minister of Port. And in there is the GPH agreement. You see, Spider, these fellas don't know. Okay? Head up on the page 8 of number 8 on the proposal of GPH. It says, finally, GPH, as part of the signed concession agreement, will work with the St. Lucia and Seaports Authority to revise the master plan and provide expertise to look at the possible scenarios for the cargo relocation and improvement of cruise expenses. Immediate implementation of a new head tax of $10 to become effective for the 2024 cruise season would be required to achieve the above agreement, as well as consideration for SLASPA and the government of St. Lucia to receive a variable concession fee from year 5 as a rate to be negotiated prior to final approval. In other words, and here's what the proposal says. It says that would constitute a total capital investment of $45 million US. It is also noted that the above would be contingent on SLASPA and government of St. Lucia agreeing to the initial revised and variable concession fee payable to SLASPA. So in other words, the agreement pre-agreed that for GPH to do anything, they must collect $10 a head. Now, if we get in 1 million passengers, Spider, every year for cruise, 1 million passengers is $10 million US dollars for GPH. So in 4 years, in 4.5 years, they would have made the 45 million that they are spending, and they have another 35.5 years to collect the money that should belong to the people of St. Lucia. So you, Ernest Healy, if you are man, as you say, and look, I have the cabinet conclusions too, you know. Cabinet conclusion 195. Look the thing he said about the boardwalk. You see, dated 8th April 2024, the following cabinet conclusion is submitted for your attention. Application by GPH Limited for tourism incentive. Cabinet conclusion number 67 of 29 January 2024. Cabinet reviewed the request from the Ministry of Tourism Investment for the redevelopment of Castries Port, Vendors Arcade, Bannans Bay, a boardwalk, and Soufrière waterfront by GPH. So, Ernest Healy had anticipated 100% exemption of all payment of income tax for a period of 30 years.
So in other words, they pay no income tax at all.
After we gave them our port, they have done nothing, and they are collecting millions of dollars. You would think that they would contribute $5 tax to St. Lucia. They are given a 30-year tax incentive commencing January 15th, 2024.
100% tax exemption.
For 30 years.
I mean, St. Lucia, again, look at CIP, look at this. Saint Lucie, Pouvan, Golo. They have just sold out our country wholesale to foreigners. And I cannot see, I don't know if you can, I cannot see the benefit that would accrue to us.
You think that's all they give? They give GPH? Because that is what I want you to speak about. And that is why I want to challenge the Labour Party on a discussion on your policy on the port and the UWPs. Pursuant to Section 130 of the income tax, 100% exemption from payment of withholding tax for a period of 30 years. You heard that? Hear what they say. Commencing 15th, 2024 and terminating 14th January 2054. How many of us will be alive in 2054? Here the 100% is on repatriation of profits, dividends, interest, mortgages, repayment of mortgages, capital investment, payment on overseas rendered services by GPH Limited and third-party lenders of financing the project. These incentives will be subject to the approval of the list of third-party leaders by the Department of Finance. So if GPH say they spend $2 million in England pertaining to port castries, they get exemption on this in St. Lucia. Not in the UK, you know. 100%. That's not all. It says, pursuant to Section 25 of the Alien Landholding License, in keeping with the Cabinet conclusion number 566 of 2023, that GPH Limited be granted an exemption from the requirement to obtain an alien landholding license. Endorsement for the Minister of Finance to grant 100% exemption from property tax on block and parcel 848C, 57 and 81. That is all the block and parcel numbers that constitute the port and Point Seraphine. Pursuant to Section 3, the stamp duty, 100% waiver from the payment of stamp duty on the conveyance or transfer of sale of shares of the company or any movable or immovable property approved. Now, you know why that? You know GPH has sold more than half the shares since it acquired. And you know what the government did? They already gave them 100% waiver of stamp duty for selling the shares. 100% waiver of custom duties on procurement of 2 vehicles for GPH for a period of 3 years. And then it says, pursuant to Section 14, the excise tax, endorsement of the Minister of Finance to grant 100% waiver of excise tax on the procurement of the vehicles for GPH. So really and truly, they have nothing in this cabinet conclusion for us. And Hila is coming and talk a set of nonsense on meet the minister and refusing to answer the questions you are being asked. You have given away one of the most valuable assets of St. Lucia. And St. Lucians, it means that the Labour Party, endorsed by Philip J. Pierre, has given away $400 million for $40 million. That is the equation. You think Galaxy is bad? The port is worse than Galaxy. And there's one common denominator or 2 common denominators in all of these deals. The Minister of Finance and the Minister of Tourism, his deputy, Ernest Healy. You all make accusations of the UWP. Bring evidence about Guy Joseph as Guy Joseph is bringing evidence. Bring one agreement Guy Joseph signed that puts St. Lucia at risk.
You know, Guy, talking about accusations, somebody just told me today, you know, all the allegations and accusations that were made by the SLP are baseless, and they are proven to be baseless, because even when they went before the investigations, hiring, how do you call it? The general...
Oh, linguist.
No, linguist,
forensic auditor.
They also had a special prosecutor.
Special prosecutor.
And they hired and so on. Nothing has come out of it. And I will do a clip later pertaining to that, and I will have you to comment.
So
having done all of that, Guy, you know what the person said to me? Even if there was a shred of evidence on any of those things that they were claiming, which has turned out to be untrue, it would be like talking about 2 boys stealing 2 mangoes from a mango tree.
Mm-hmm.
And while they're discussing the 2 boys stealing them, a fellow come and then a fellow steal the whole family. That's how bad it is.
No, so
that's what somebody told me today, and it was a very good illustration of what is transpiring.
of what? So let me give you the background of the individual that we are talking about, the Ernest Healy. And I have in my hand there a letter from the Office of the Director of Audit. Request for audit information on bank account, High Commission for St. Lucia International Maritime Organization, IMO in London.
Where are you going with that, Guy? Are you going to be talking about joint account in England?
Yes.
But there was no joint account.
No, well, that is not what it says. Account information.
But before you just divulge that information, are you aware that Ernest Healy has publicly said on many occasions that he had no joint account? And he went further to say, not even with his wife,
yes,
that he had a joint account.
Well, that tells you the kind of man. If he can't trust his wife to have a joint account with his wife. I don't even need a joint account with my wife. My wife have free access to my account. That is what partnership is about. So here's what it says. We inquired of the Department of External Affairs on the nature of the account. However, the department could not present information on the account. It says here, we did not see any evidence that the bank account was opened as prescribed by the revised laws of St. Lucia Cap 15.01 Finance Act number 33, paragraph 2, regarding approval of the Accountant General. For anybody to open an account in the name of the government of St. Lucia, you need to have the approval of the Accountant General. The audit department was saying that account that was operated. And it also has the amount of money, and it has the number of checks on it that was written.
Okay, and who
to Ernest Healy. And Ernest Healy, I challenge you to come and prove that this is. That the check was written on the 13th of May 2015 to Ernest Healy.
But Guy, before you go further, what I'm interested in is you said that it was a joint account. Joint with whom?
Healy and Jufali.
Okay.
Okay, but look at here. Details as per check stubs. There were no details. Another check was written to Healy on the 10th of July 2015. No details on the check stub. Another account, another check on the 11th of September. Expense refund. That's what it says. Another check on the 5th of October 2015. All of these checks I'm calling there is to Ernest Healy. No details on the check stub. Another check on the 4th of December was written to us, Albert Fregis. All the time you're talking on Richard program. Tell us what this check was written for. Albert Fregis. No details on the check stub. You see, that is the evidence that we are presenting to St. Lucians.
Guy, go back to the previous page that you have there. Let me just take a picture of this, because here we deal with evidence, you know, guy.
Yes.
People don't just come and say things like he did on mid the minister.
You know.
Okay, go ahead.
Everything with GPH is shrouded in secrecy. You remember when they did the handover? It was done secretly. No media was invited. There's another check to Mr. Fregis. No details on the check stub. And Mr. Fregis, if you doubt me, I can give you the check number. 100040. That is the check number written to Albert Fregis.
Are you talking about the same Fregis who is always on that program?
Yes.
Richard Frederick?
These are the fellas who want to tell us what is right and what is wrong.
Yeah.
And this is not information from Guy Joseph. This is information from the Auditor General. I want you all to bring the things you all have on Guy Joseph from the Auditor General. This is the GPH. When I did my research on GPH, that is what I found out about them. In a few years, you will see GPH will control everything. It says emphasis on adding ancillary revenues such as port agency services and existing ports with the same. GPH makes more money from ancillary services at the port than they make from operating the port itself. So that should tell our taxi drivers, our vendors, our concessionaires, what is going to happen to them in a few years.
And Guy, when you and your guy just get back to office, I'll come and cry to you, or plead to you rather, and you know you need my vote in the next general election and what have you. So you'll have to listen to me. You'll have to do what is in my best interest as a St. Lucian and so on. But do you realize that GPH is not beholden to me? They don't owe me. They don't care about me. It's all about profits.
You know, you know what is interesting about all of this?
And if you don't mind, I just posted a copy of the picture that I took there because I want my viewers to know.
So I want them to see the letter itself. So give them so they know which letter we are referring to. Because those who posting fake information on the media, I'm not one of them. You know, and what is sad about our situation, Spider, is that we have to sit down and listen to a minister spew so many lies on a program, talking about Alan Chasney signing an agreement. We did not sign no agreement with GPH because it was public knowledge. It was public knowledge. We were in Washington, D.C. when the negotiations were completed with the cruise ships. And that is the first country in the Caribbean who are able to bring all free cruise, major cruise, MSC, RCI, which is Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines, and Carnival Cruise Lines, to get all free to agree to the port development in Viewport. So how we could agree to a port development in Viewport? The then Prime Minister Alan Chasney flew over to Puerto Rico to sign the agreement with the cruise representatives. And you saying at the same time we had an agreement with GPH. We never accepted any proposal from GPH. You remember what had happened with Grindberg? When Grindberg had sent his license to be renewed, and Steve was Prime Minister, and he left. I want you to clarify who was Prime Minister that signed these two agreements, because certainly Alan was not Prime Minister in 2008. So that must be put into perspective. Now I want St. Lucians to take a little time and understand. SLASPA has been one of the best operating.
Just for the benefit of my viewers, I have a copy of the letter that you were reading from with those accounts and so on, the withdrawal of the accounts. I just,
Yes.
I like to post the evidence,
Yes, because it is good. You tell me that the minister came and the minister could not present one piece of document. He's waving his hand and trying to say this and trying to say that. I don't have to try and say things. I come with the evidence.
Guy, if you don't mind, before we go any further, I'd like to give my viewers and listeners an opportunity to have their say as well. This program is called Like It Is, and where everybody gets the chance to tell it like it is. You just told us like it is, and I'm telling you like it is now. I want my viewers and listeners to call in to have a chance to tell it like it is. So if you don't mind, I'm going to take a moment to just announce to my viewers and listeners that we are opening up the lines. And I'm hoping that you will have either questions or comments for my guest. The telephone line, our landline is 4500777. Again, 4500777. And for WhatsApp, it is 284-3499. WhatsApp again, 284-3499. So you can call in. You have an opportunity now. It's your chance to call in and tell like it is. I hope you... Pardon? We have a caller already. They were waiting, guy. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Like It Is. Please go ahead. That's your opportunity to tell it like it is. Hello? Apparently we lost that caller. Hello, caller. Okay, that caller.
Hello, good evening.
Hello?
I am not hearing you.
Okay, well, I'm hearing you loud and clear, so please go ahead.
No, I'm not hearing you.
Yeah, the caller
Are you hearing me on your side?
Yes, caller, I'm hearing you.
Okay, I'm hearing you now. Okay, I'm hearing you now. Yes. Okay.
My guess is not hearing. My guess is not hearing the
I'm
callers.
hearing you. I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Okay, yes, I'm hearing you as well. But no, like now, my guess is not hearing, and most likely, if there's a question, it will be for him. So if you can correct that, I'll appreciate it.
A general observation. I'd first like to.
Go ahead, caller.
Okay. I would just like to make a comment, especially on some of the comments made by the minister on the program on Friday. On that part specifically, I wanted to comment on was the part where they said that the cruise was operating at a loss. They presented no evidence for that.
Yeah.
they also said that the Slapper was making 90% of his profits from cargo, and the 10% that Slapper was making from cruise, they did not indicate how much of that profit was being given to GPH, because obviously if there's a 10% that Slapper was making from the cruise ports, right? It would have to mean that the cruise port was making some kind of money. And they did not specify in any way whatsoever how much was made and how much was being made now vis-a-vis what was being made, or even to demonstrate how there was any loss and how much this class was subsidized over the years or last year or whatever period. So it was so confusing listening to the minister just spew out things and promises to present documents. I mean, I have heard this gentleman promise to bring documents so many times already, which I have never ever seen.
Right.
So I don't know where we are going with this as a country. To me, it appears that once you are a minister, you are able to say anything you want, and there is no penalty for that. And this is something I would really like to hear the UWP saying as a
Can I come in just momentarily?
Sure.
What I'm hearing and what I see in this deal is this is the single worst arrangement any government have ever made in the history of St. Lucia. And as far as I'm concerned, that is more than being sold into slavery. You see, to take the revenue that is guaranteed for the country and to give it to a foreign entity and you get nothing in return. I mean, that is why I'm honestly and I'm sincerely challenging Healy to a discussion on this, because I need to help him, or I need him to help me make sense of what he did there. Maybe he knows something that we don't know, but I cannot see any benefit that is worse than selling the next generation of St. Lucians into slavery. In essence, that is what they have done.
Well, I myself cannot see the benefit. I'm still waiting for an explanation on the benefit, because I don't understand how I was getting $650 and now I'm getting $1 and I'm in benefit. I'm trying to understand that part. And if it has now increased to 12, I'm still getting $1. I'm trying my best, but the math is just not coming to me. I know I'm not any math scholar, but it's not coming to me.
So that caller, there was $650. We knew how it was split. $1.50 to solid waste, $2.50 to SLASPA, $2.50 to the government of St. Lucia. Did the minister take 1 minute on the program to tell us, okay, that was the breakdown of the allocations of the $650. We've gone to the $11.50 now, or $12.50, where solid waste is making $2.50 and GPH is making $10. What is the government of St. Lucia making? And what is SLASPA making? That is what the minister should have explained to the people of St. Lucia, not to hide behind things and say, oh, you got the agreement there. And there was no agreement. And I challenge you to show that there was an agreement.
Okay, well, what I would like to hear as a party looking to take the reins of government, that something will be done, because the amount of money that has been embezzled through in the name of the people of St. Lucia, somebody must be held accountable. And I really need legislation or whatever that needs to be done to be put in place for some control to be on the cabinet of ministers, because for me, I'm seeing there is a loose cannon that is able to do whatever they want, and there is no penalty for it.
Well,
thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Colonel. Very good contribution. And that is why they are fighting tooth and nail and will do anything within their power to try to remain in office, because they know that the abuses that they have practiced will not go unchallenged and will not pass, just so. Because as you can see from the evidence already, the leader of the opposition has actually taken the CIP unit and the minister to court already.
You know what I want to say on this also, Spider? I know Stevenson King betrayed and sold out the UWP, but I never thought that as minister responsible for port, that he would go so far in selling out St. Lucia. A man who served in the same cabinet with Sir John, and Sir John did so much for establishing SLASPA and all of that. And Stevenson King sat in a cabinet with Labour and did something like this as the minister responsible for port. And you say Flambeau treated you badly and you left Flambeau because of that. That was a lie. But what have you done to the people of St. Lucia by selling out SLASPA, one of the most viable government entities operating independently by itself?
Yes, I think we have another caller. I think we have a caller on WhatsApp. So if we can take this caller. Caller, good evening. Welcome to Like It Is. Please go ahead and make your contribution.
Yes, good night, Spider, and good night, Mr. Guy Joseph. And it's an honor to be speaking to you, the two of you guys. And I just want to elaborate on what Guy Joseph is speaking about and said, Guy, do not forget that Chasney did expand the seaports in Castries. So if we were getting to house mega ships and Orion ships, so if a ship before used to hold maybe 400,000, now we're getting 1 million passengers per year because we have expanded the ports to house those big cruise ships. So it is an increase in head tax, and it is an increase in revenue. And brother Guy, I just wanted to say to you again is that we have a situation within our party where when it comes to sending out the message, like what happened to us in the last election. And I'm seeing those guys was Philip JP and those guys in the last election saying, oh, Alan sell the land, $1 acre. Guy Joseph, have you ever went to a bank without having some monies to get a loan or something?
Well, there are times they give 100% financing, but you must have a certain record to be able to get the thing at 100% financing.
Exactly. Now, I want to just say this, Guy. Take for example, in Vieux Fort, a land that wasn't worth anything, nothing. And then we came up with an agreement saying that, okay, if we give you the land for $1 acre, we list the land at $1 acre, you in return as an investor will invest $1 billion worth of investments, which is the causeway, the hotels, the expansion of the airport, the seaport in Vieux Fort, and all those rest of the things for 99 years. All those buildings and infrastructure will have a duration for 99 years. So right now we were on the verge of taking land that didn't worth nothing and making a multi-billion-dollar worth. It would have been worth billions of dollars by the end of whatever transpired with DSH.
So,
and then we have the
caller. I don't want them to say that I sat on a program and I agreed that the land is not worth nothing. Land is always worth something. And I will never agree that land is not worth anything. What I want to say to you, caller, is that the perception that how many hundreds of acres of land was given to Teo Hakim for $1 is false. 168 acres of land is what was given to Teo Hakim for $1 an acre for the 99 years. And that is primarily to establish.
Guy, I will interrupt you. Sorry, caller, I want to interrupt Guy here. Because Richard Frederick in particular keeps repeating it week in, week out, that we gave 1,000 acres of land for $1 a square foot.
That is a lie.
For $1 an acre for 99 years.
That is an outright lie.
I want you to repeat the amount to my viewers and listeners once again.
It's either 168 or 186. I may be mixing
but can you say definitively it's less than 200?
It is less than 200 acres of land, and it is the land that is where the horse racing track is. Everything else Teo Hakim was doing was on the basis of land that he purchased. But caller, if you're still there, just give me 1 minute. Let me read one paragraph under the letter of 9 February 2016 to Robert Ainsworth, Equator Lands, that was signed by Dr. Kenny Anthony. It says you would also acquire by lease or purchase lands primarily in the south of the island, measuring approximately 1,000 acres to construct the manufacturing plant that we spoke about. So
really and truly, the things they accuse people of is
the
what they are
things
guilty
they
of.
say, and as the letter, to Robert Ainsworth, and the signature on the letter, I want to show you. The signature on the letter is the signature of Dr. Kenny Anthony. Look, it's right here. It's Dr. Kenny Anthony. They were the ones who was in the process of giving 1,000 acres by lease or purchase or whatever. It was never the United Workers' Party. And they know the truth because you can go to the registrar, the Registry of Lands, and you can see how much land was leased to Theo Akim for the amount of money. These things are not difficult to prove. But Labour Party believes in misleading the people and lying to the people. And I knew that would come up, so I always walk with my ready to show them who was willing. And they tell you, oh, Theo Akim would never do that type of development. But Robert Ainsworth, who is a fake developer, here's what he said. You would also acquire by lease. Well, I read that the equipment alone, hear that? The equipment alone to be installed in St. Lucia in the first instance will cost 500 million euros. And can he believe that? What factory you can build in St. Lucia that the equipment in it would cost the equipment alone to be installed in the first instance, which means after there would be more, 500 million euros. And when we say Theo Akim was doing $1 billion project, that looked like being so far-fetched. If the equipment, now a euro is about 3C. So if we say 500 million, that's 1.5 billion just for equipment. Labour Party, look here, you cannot develop St. Lucia, that's the bottom line. Development of St. Lucia depends on what the UWP does.
Yes. Excuse me, brother guy, just in the interest of time. So what I just wanted to say is that the land wasn't generating any monies when it was in 2016. But the airport, they're going to sign with the PPP, and the seaport was already generating millions. And yes, SLASPA now was managing all those ports you talk about for over 50 years and accumulated a debt of $40 million. Now you're watching 50 years and a debt of $40 million. That is a good balance sheet,
No. So let's put the debt in perspective. The debt that SLASPA had there was the debt accumulated for the extension of the berth at Point Seraphine to take the Oasis class vessels. You see, that is what they are not telling us, because SLASPA has reserves, SLASPA has money on fixed deposit. So it is not a situation where SLASPA was in debt and SLASPA couldn't pay its debt.
And they weren't struggling to pay their bills.
And if SLASPA could not pay its debt, the $2.50 US from each passenger that the government was getting from SLASPA could just leave it for SLASPA and let SLASPA pay off its debt. There was not a problem. So for Ernest Hillett, let me tell you, you know what the real issue with this deal is? I believe that somebody got paid on a side for that deal. There's no way a whole cabinet of ministers can be so foolish to go and give fellas $400 million for an investment of $40 million and nobody getting paid on a side. That is hard pressed. And I challenge them. That is why I want to have a discussion with them. Show me the benefit of bringing in GPH when everything GPH is doing, SLASPA was already doing it. And SLASPA told you, the committee set up by cabinet told them, SLASPA already have a master plan, and the master plan that SLASPA has can develop the port and make the port what we want it to be.
Guy, how do you respond to the statement that was made that, okay, now we're getting $12.50, but it's because GPH came in and we could not have gotten it on our own?
But but we had negotiated that before, because when the cruise ships were coming to do the port in Vieux-Fort, they had already agreed to increase the revenue take per passenger to help offset the price for the loan.
Okay, I think we have a caller on the line. I don't want to keep the caller any longer. Caller, good evening. Welcome to Like It Is. Please go ahead and make your contribution. Tell it like it is.
Yes, gentlemen. I think you better make this a correct call, you know, the length of time you'll have me holding on there.
Sorry about that, caller. Sorry,
caller.
Well,
No.
at least you told us like it is.
No. This situation involving GPH is even worse than Guy was saying, you know, because this supposed $45 million that they were invested in the port, in actual fact, the $18 million that they assuming the loan at the NIC. So there's no cash coming from them for that part of the loan. They're not paying it off. They're assuming it, which means that they are going to service the loan going forward. So that there's no cash element there. So the actual cash input by GPH is only about 25 million or whatever it is, or 27 million. Right?
Paula, now you're giving me some information I didn't have. Can you just repeat? So I thought the agreement was that they paid off the loan for SLASPA in full.
No.
So they just took over the loan and they're collecting our own money to pay our loan for us.
Precisely. They assume the loan.
You're right, caller. It's a lot worse than we think that it is.
Forgive me, caller. Leaving that between you and Guy. I will not even comment about that.
But so in actual fact now, they would have to source or bring in $27 million. The question to be asked now, when you look at the original financial statements of the GPH parent group, if you recall, the last set of statements that were filed in the stock exchange, these fellows had no assets.
They were losing
money. If you recall, the major item on the balance sheet was, I think, rights of use of various things all over the world, which are basically intangible items. And you can't get a loan based on an intangible item. The question now arises, what did they do to finance the other $27 million? There's all sorts of questions around this. And to compound it, later on during the year, they converted from a public company to a private company. So
what are the implications of that?
We don't know who owns the company right now. We don't know which company owns our port or anything else. We don't have a clue. So we are really up the creek as far as that is concerned. But ultimately, what it means is that you have a bunch of people who have inserted themselves as middlemen, extracting a whole pile of money from St. Lucia with very little risk. And this was facilitated by a man who claims that he worked with, what's the name of the accountancy, not accountancy, the consultancy firm? He claimed he worked with that firm, and this is what he's given up? Come on.
Caller, I just before you go, caller, I want to say this so that St. Lucians understand. What I'm seeing there, it's a whole year plus the fellas took over. It means that every passenger, so the money they would be spending now is money they have earned from collecting the head tax per passenger, you know. So they are not even required to put out any capital outlay, because I thought the initial capital outlay was the 18 million that they would have paid. So the other 4 million that SLASPA is owing, who is paying that? SLASPA is continuing to service that 4 million?
Now, caller, I really appreciate your call. And before you go, let me apologize again for keeping you waiting with a call like this. You know, I really appreciate that call. Now, Guy, we are running out of time. And so I will have to, cut the calls here so that we could just wrap up the program. But before we wrap up, Guy, I want to attack you. It was said that you did all kinds of things And as far as I remember, the main reason for appointment of the special prosecutor was Guy Joseph. now, I'm telling you, like I see it. Now, Guy, I mean, all kinds of allegations, all kinds of things. Sheldon Daniel said on a program, if it is one person the Labour Party has to ensure that does not get into Parliament, is Guy Joseph. I mean, I don't know what the obsession is about you, what it is about you, but I'm letting you know. That is how they feel about you. So when people like yourself go back into government, with all the allegations, unsubstantiated business allegations are made about you, you have, and your government will have, the basis to go after the people who did those kinds of injustices to this country. I hope you will not play games with it.
So, Spider,
you know?
The sentiments echoed by Sheldon Daniel was echoed by Kenny Anthony previously.
Okay.
Kenny Anthony said that they have to do whatever it takes to make sure I'm not in the Parliament of St. Lucia.
Maybe
you remember when they said the poodle and I told them poodle stays in the house.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was on the basis. But let me just say this. You know, I hold people accountable for what they do. Labour Party knows that I don't just challenge them on baseless things. I present facts to back up what I'm saying. Now, I don't want to go after individuals who have not done things. I want the Labour Party to take me to court. If the Labour Party had taken me to court, by now my name would have been cleared. Because it's just allegations.
Mm-hmm.
If a court sits to discuss and make a judgment, I have no reservations. I have no second thought about what they are going to find. Philip J. Pierre himself said, if you all have evidence, he was the one saying how many things I did. They were the ones who engaged Robert Lindquist. 2 years ago, he said they re-engaged Robert Lindquist. Yeah. What have we heard? So election coming again, they come in with the same recycled material to come and try and use. So I am volunteering myself to go to court. I am volunteering.
Okay, so
take me to court and let's bring the evidence you have and let the court make a decision.
Okay, so it's unfortunate that we're running out of time. Guy, you're so well informed that it is always a pleasure to have you there, and it is to the benefit of my viewers and listeners to have you and to present the truth as we do on this program, to tell it like it is. I want to say that that is the modus operandi of the St. Lucia Labour Party, the bluff, the lies, and all of those gimmicks that they pull. Now, I want to end with a clip, Guy, to just highlight what they do, what they continue to do, and to show the public of St. Lucia what kinds of things that they are up to. Play it for me, this final clip, before we end, my technicians.
Cannot afford to. You know, let me tell you something. I think this matter of special prosecutor, we flunk on that already, you know. And when I say we flunk on it, I don't mean the government did anything wrong. I'm just saying in terms of something that was promised, in terms of a deliverable, in terms of a promise that so many of your sincere, of your fervent, of your ardent supporters were banking on, were staking their hopes on the special prosecutor. A lot of them have reached a time where their hands are hanging down, you know, in despair, feebly at their sides, you know. I don't think anything will come of that. Thankfully, special prosecutor is not something, or the sort of thing, that impacts people in a direct, daily, tangible way. In other words, it's not something that people can relate to their job, their income, the food on their table, the ability to pay their bills, you know. It's not so, thankfully. It's an important thing, you know. But thankfully, it is not, in the minds of most people, a true bread and butter issue. The road condition, transport availability, healthcare, the hospital, you know, this sort of thing. Because if it was, I'm telling you, it would be a major smack in the eye. It would be something more than mere egg in the face.
Yeah, this is the kind of BS you're trying to pull on the people of St. Lucia. It will be a major smack in the eye because we are knowing the truth now. The truth is being brought to light. Guy, I want to thank you very much, as always, for coming on this program. I want you to know that this is not the last time we're going to need you here. And we really appreciate the fact that you're coming out now to debunk to debunk all of this. I want to say good night to all our viewers and listeners, especially those of you who participated by calling in. I want to thank you and ask that you join us again next week on Monday for another episode of Like It Is. Thank you and have a good night.
The opinions expressed on this TV program by the hosts, guests, and callers are solely their opinions and responsibility. They do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Hot 7 TV or its affiliates.
The views of the host of this program is independent of Hot 7 TV, Kiss FM, and Hot FM Communications Limited.
Hot 7 TV is the rising.
You're watching St. Lucia's